Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Sir.
So, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So, welcome to this online artificial intelligence class. We have been in the session 14 today. And today we are going to discuss about various trends in artificial intelligence. So this class is a very simple class. The reason is the trends in artificial intelligence was already discussed in the earlier classes, and most of the discussion that will happen in the class is already discussed earlier, and it's a glance that it was part of your syllabus. We are going to discuss this again. So the agenda that I have kept for today is very simple, like what we have done in the last class, and we will discuss about various trends in artificial intelligence. Because AI, I said, is everywhere. When you consider natural language processing, AI main strength is NLP. You can think about image processing. Image processing is also a part of your AI. Video processing, and most of the people know about bioinformatics. Bioinformatics is how do you apply your computer algorithms on biological problems. So bioinformatics is a part of AI, and we everywhere, even you consider a small mechanical department applications or metallurgy applications, AI was involved in all these activities. So we'll discuss what exactly are the trends in artificial intelligence. Before that, into subtasks or not, and if that can be decomposed into subproblems, is it better to have independent modules and non-independent modules? This is what the discussion that we have done. So every time your A problem was given, the first thing you do is you modularize the problem into tasks. And while you modularizing the tasks, we need to understand that it is better to have more number of independent tasks, which is very difficult. The reason is we have standard algorithms like random forest and artificial intelligence, which can process these parallel things faster and they can integrate. So can we decompose the problem into subtasks, and can we make most of them as independent tasks? And anyway, at the end of the day, you need to integrate all the things. And yesterday I also seen whether you make a move in a game or when you design robot, is it recoverable or irrecoverable? Like I make a movement. See, while we are designing robots, sometimes the robot hand can be moved from left to right, but the right to left is at some point of time is not possible with respect to the place it was. So can we go to the earlier state, or can we stay in the same state? Like yesterday we were talking about a chess game, when some move was made, you cannot come back to the earlier move. Whereas in 8 puzzle problem, since you are only playing the game, so obviously there is a chance that you can get back. Even when we design robots, also the same case. Like in sometimes we cannot see, I can make the robot to take a bench from one place to other place. At the same time, the other thing may not be possible with respect to the constraint that it is having. So you need to think in that direction. So we also discussed about uh, what is that called as whether the universe is predictable or not. While we are moving from one state to other state, is there any guarantee that the new state will fetch you the goal state or not? This is what the universe is, the most important discussion that we have yesterday. Because every time when people are talking about universe, they're only talking about whether you're employing a heuristic or not. Or does your algorithm has an intuition to get the output faster, or whether your algorithm is going in a blind search. So that is what we have discussed. If you still remember, we have seen whether the solution to a problem is absolute or relative. In a traveling salesman problem, the output is relative, whereas I'm inculcating adaptability, usability, and robustness. So dynamic suffering with some running nose, then there is a chance that you get a fever. So the probability at that moment, the inference value is 0.5. So this 0.5 value can be increased or decreased based on the examples or the circumstances that your doctor will see. So two type of knowledge bases are there, two type of databases will be there. One is a static database where every statement will have 100% guarantee to exist. And other place where there is some probability that was given that will change with respect to time and with respect to the environment, with respect to the experience, with respect to the training, with respect to the example that you take, that value will change. So generally in all cases when you take a truth system or a belief system, you take the probability is 0.5 initially when the inference is made. So this 0.5 will reach 1, that will become a fact. If that 0.5 will become 0, that will be a disbelief. So we have also discussed whether there is the interaction that is needed while designing these artificial intelligence systems, particularly the robots. We need to have the interaction. If there is no interaction, what type of things are, when you try to implement games in a prototype, interaction is not needed unless you get a small prototype. So this is what yesterday we are talking about. And today we will be talking about trends in artificial intelligence. Like if somebody wish to do some research in artificial intelligence, where you can explore, or what is ELIZA, what is a chatbot, what is RPA, what is a robotics, something like that. Can somebody unmute yourself and just answer me, like what is NLP? Natural language processing is what? Can somebody unmute and tell what? Can I say NLP is a part of AI? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, NLP is a basic requirement of your AI system. Like we will see some systems like belief systems where they will process the data and they will give an inference. NLP is the way in which you think about the structure of the language and meaning of the language. That's what I said. when you are reading some concept called as conceptual dependency, for every statement, if the meaning is same, whatever language you use, it will have the same representation. The same way in NLP also, I speak something in Telugu or I speak something in English or in Chinese language. If the sentence is having the same meaning, then the representation is same. So NLP is a part of AI. And image processing, can I say image processing is a part of AI? Is it yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Image processing is a part of AI because we have CC systems, we call it as crowd counting system, that will come again in your slides, which is basically a video processing and is image processing system. When I introduced initially artificial intelligence also, I said recently I have seen in a paper like e-challan mechanism is introduced in India, where in national highways the CCTVs will be kept. If some car is exceeding the permissible limit, so when it exceeds, what they will do is they will take the snapshot and convert that image into text. From the text you will get this car number, and automatically based on this car number the email will be sent to the corresponding user or corresponding owner of the class. So this is what we have seen. So image processing is a part of AI. Even video processing also is a part of AI. And most of the people, if you open WHO website, we will find something called as bioinformatics. Just a minute, I'll get back to this. So bioinformatics. Bioinformatics is also the field of artificial intelligence. The reason is, what does your bioinformatics do is, bioinformatics talks about implementing various algorithms or classifiers or tools of computer science, but the domain they are applying is it on biology. Whether you take IBM Watson or Mycin, all the systems will be pertaining to this bioinformatics only. Health sector, and you talk about whether the disease causing gene, whether it is inherited by father or mother, what type of disease that can happen if you have the same type of habits, all this is bioinformatics. See, the domain that will operate is bioinformatics is biology, but all the processing that will be done by your algorithms and classifiers. So you need to remember this. Bioinformatics is also part of your AI, even speech recognition also. Speech recognition is also one of the most important future of AI. Can you name some example for the speech recognition applications? Can somebody just tell me what are the speech recognition applications of AI?
Alexa.
Yes, Alexa, Siri, Google Home.
Google.
Many, yes, you can give Sophia also. Sophia is a robot, humanoid robot, where it will interact with people with respect to speech recognition. It will process the movements of students are with interacting with some people based on image processing. So obviously, speech recognition, NLP, video processing, image processing, and bioinformatics are the most important part. This is what you need to do time. Apart from, they will also talk about neural network. Most of the time, you know all these things. So when people talk about neural network, they will also talk about deep learning. All these are part of your AI. If somebody wish to implement AI, they can choose either traditional machine learning algorithms or traditional neural network algorithms or deep learning algorithms. So all these are the basics that you need to have, that because you are talking about the current trends in artificial intelligence. Most of the trends in artificial intelligence will be pertaining to deep learning, and which is covering all these areas. All these areas will be covered. So that is the reason machine learning is the way in which small problems in the terms of size and features can be handled. A neural network is a mechanism where it will learn something like your brain. We call it as neurons. We will just add some weights when you are processing with neural networks and all things. When the number of features are more, when the data is more, then we have to go for deep neural network. We call that as deep learning. Just a minute, this is not working. Just a minute. So we have seen these problem characteristics, and we'll get into the next slide. This is what the emphasis of the class, and most of the people who are sitting in the class heard these terms, all these terms, not only single term, all these terms are already we have discussed earlier. But the interesting fact that the reason that they have kept in the syllabus is again the same thing. The syllabus is very simple, but I'm elaborating the things so that people, when try to have an application, this is what they need to do. Eliza is a chatbot where Eliza has two versions, version 1 and version 2. Eliza is a chatbot where it will interact with the person in the terms of text. This is text. Other version of Eliza, it will interact with the people in the terms of voice. Can somebody tell me, is it better a system interact with the people with voice or text? Which is better?
Voice.
Yes.
Voice,
Most
sir.
of the A, is what you said is right. Most of the A applications will force us to use this mechanism voice to interact with the system. That is the reason when you are installing Siri or Alexa or at least Google Home in your app, it will train your voice. It will just recognize your voice. Then it, based on that, it will fetch you where is some city, where is some theater in my Bhimbaram, or I asked about what is the best printer that I can find less than 10,000. So all these are apps are your voice apps. That is the reason, if you remember earlier classes, we are talking about an expert system called as IBM Watson. This IBM Watson has almost 26 different types of versions. Initially, it interacts with the people with text. Now it is interacting with voice. Apart from that, if you give a video also, video message offline to Watson also, it can process that video message and it can answer your replies. So Eliza is a chatbot which can process the text as well as voice based on these versions that were given, and it will ask at least 4 to 6 questions. Based on that, it will tell you the mindset of the person at that moment, because there is a database which will guide this Eliza to have some conclusions with some probabilities. So I want to find out how happy some person is there, exists at this moment, or how depressed he is, and what is the mindset, how he is feeling, whether he is feeling excited or he is feeling dejected. All this can be the outcomes of Eliza. So if somebody like you wish to have a chatbot, because chatbots can be developed within 3 to 4 hours with limited functionalities, with text, then you can enhance the chatbot with voice and so on and so forth. When you add functionalities, your complexity of the system will increase. When the functionalities are more, the usability of the system is more. When I have many features in WhatsApp, people will use. It's only based on the flexibility to use. It's only based on the number of features you will offer and many other trends. So you need to remember the trend that artificial intelligence talks initially is about Eliza. Eliza is a chatbot which will tell you the mindset of a person asking many questions. It can be in the terms of voice or it can be in the text. And RPA, if you remember when I am introducing artificial intelligence, I spoke about a person called as Gartner. Gartner, J-R. You type something about Gartner reports on the latest technologies, you will get all the latest technologies, and he will also tell you how many years this technology will be in limelight. When I'm starting initially the AA classes to you, like in 29th, most probably in the last month, on 22nd of the last month, Gartner has released his technological trends. In this technological trends, AI was listed in the first trend. In that AI, the third trend is your RPA, robotic process automation. How can we create a robot for everyone? How can we create a robot or a bot for the mundane tasks? See, I have 194 students in my class, and I need to send a letter to the parents of my 195 students, because parents' names I have to do. So the content is same. So what is that I do is I take the content, I paste the content, I just copy the parent name and keep it there and just send the same document for 194 times. It is better to go for RPA, where you can develop a bot within 2 to 3 minutes, and this bot will do, it will send the emails, 195 emails within less than 30 nanoseconds. So our RPA is a particular mechanism where it talks about computerizing or automating the mundane tasks that are done by so many people. If you are repeatedly doing the same task for many times, you are wasting some time. That is the reason people who are not good at programming, like in RPA, we have something called as UiPath. Most of the people know this UiPath. UiPath is a company where people are working on RPA. You can take UiPath, you can take Automation Anywhere. All these are very important. Automation Anywhere is a company name. You can take something called as a Blue Prism. Whatever it may be. So there are many companies, they are working in this RPA, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism. What they do is they automate the common and mundane tasks so that the entire task will be done automatically by your bots. That is the reason when I introduced artificial intelligence also, I said this UiPath and Automation Anywhere and Blue Prism, they are going to create a bot for every person. So if you speak to your seniors, particularly people who are there and now just there in 4th year, they have done various courses in Automation Anywhere and Blue Prism, because there is no need to write a bigger code when RPA is concerned. People who wish to drag and drop the code, then they will go for this RPA jobs, and RPA packages are more. Very few people have this type of expertise in RPA. RPA is an upcoming technology that is pertaining to AI, and we call this RPA is, if the title is current trends in artificial intelligence, RPA is a current trend in artificial intelligence, which was cited 4th in this Gartner report. Is ELISA was in 2000. So obviously ELISA is a old structure. Even in robotics also it was there. Since 1998, it is also already there. But RPA is the most important part where you need to concentrate. And if you wish to learn RPA, this UiPath, they are doing it free. Even Automation Anywhere also they are doing it free. You can have your own, you can design your own bots. That's what it is. So RPA is all about how do you automate the common tasks, or how do you automate the mundane tasks that we call it as RPA. So తర్వాత క్లాస్ అయింది అన్నీ అయిపోయినాయి కదా జస్ట్ a minute, I will get back. Today, most of the people, you know that we are having some campus placements, and the exam will be from 3 to 6. Class and the exam will be from 3 to 6. If you have a chance, what that you do is you interact with your seniors after 6 o'clock. So we are talking about this RPA. RPA is about how do you automate. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. RPA is all about how do you automate the things which are mundane tasks, like common tasks. If it is automated and it is done by a bot automatically, then you have the time consumption which is very less. That's what it is. I said personally that RPA is offered by UiPath, Automation Anywhere, or Blue Prism, or many other companies are there. These two are there. So obviously your seniors, almost 5 to 6% of the students have done this RPA course, and they have done very well. And the title like current trends in AI will suit to your RPA only. This ELISA and robotics are the older structure actually. So if you consider this robotics, robotics is the most important trend of AI. The reason is everywhere we try to design the robots, whether you talk about Sophia or you go to any exhibition, AI exhibition in, like your seniors went to that IBM exhibition at Bangalore or any place, the particular AI system that will be exhibited, that will be on the robotics. When you design robotics, we use a mechanism that all we have discussed called as production systems. We use production systems, partly we use a bot mechanism, and apart from that, the equipment that we take, the foldings and all the things will be done by your mechanical department. but most of the operations will be programmed by your deep learning in robotics. We use a deep learning mechanism to program these various operations of robots, and robotics is almost 50% we do the robot on the physical movements, the elasticity, the diversity, the displacement of the hand, how far it can be displayed and how far it has to move, what extent it has to move in the terms of 1 meter or 2 meters, how far it has to travel. This will be 50% will be taken care by your metallurgy and mechanical department. So the programming part, how does your robot can understand the facial expressions? How does the robot can make some valid tasks or valid movements or valid actions, permitted actions? All this we do. So robotics is the most important trend. Whether you talk about Sophia or whether you talk about Illy. Illy is a robot that was developed by China, and many other robots are there. Whenever people talk about robots, the back end, what permissible actions are there, all the movements that we describe, and programming part is ours, and the particular displacement part, how do you erect the robot, how do you make this elastic movements, all this belongs to metallurgy and mechanical department. So as far as this slide is concerned, RPA is the most important technology, and for RPA, learning RPA, there is no need that you need to know this programming part. If you don't know programming part also, most of the people can learn RPA and they are already succeeding after learning this RPA. You need to think about whether RPA is a promisable option for you or not after this class. And the current trend in artificial intelligence, as per the Gartner says, is the CC systems. Most of the people know about what exactly is a crowd counting system. Is a very complex system. That's what I said. When the futures are less, the complexity of the system will be less. When the futures are more, the complexity increases. And you have a crowd counting system where it will process the videos automatically. It will identify the number of people, how many people are in this video, and what are the abnormal actions and what are the permitted actions. You need to define the permitted actions. What are the appropriate, what are the abnormal actions, what are the abnormal people, how many people are going to damage or how many people are already damaged. This is this is for prevention as well as cure also. It will also predict, it will also, after predicting, if that happens, it also gives the consequence also, what is happening, what can happen after some time. So crowd counting system is the most important system, and this is termed as a current trend by Gartner also, but this number is 26. So it is also there, but it was numbered at a later stage, because crowd counting systems are already existing and there people are working in these crowd counting systems. They started, like crowd counting systems are started in 2018. So obviously it is almost 2 years after this advent of this CC systems. And the COVID, if you take this trend of artificial intelligence, most of the solutions for this COVID are proposed in artificial intelligence. The number is 11. Most of the solutions, whether we provide a solution examining the X-rays, 10 minutes slow just. So whether you are going to have that X-rays that is processed, whether you have some mechanisms to see that when your enterprise employees are using masks or not, whether the employees are maintaining social distance or not. We have many mechanisms. I said in the last class, like 250 different mechanisms are there. Now it is reaching almost 700 plus different mechanisms are proposed by deep learning. In particularly, they are using convolution neural networks plus recurrent neural. They are using this mechanism like CNN plus RNN They are using to build a classifier which can read the X-rays of people, and based on the X-rays, it can tell you whether he is prone to COVID or not. At a later stage, is there any chance that he will get this COVID or not? And this is what we have also discussed. Speech recognition is a trend that was there for the last 20 years. That is the reason this number is 47. Speech recognition, even though I say it is a trend as per your textbook says, or the standard nomenclature says, speech recognition is a mandatory feature of artificial intelligence system now. See, you go to a Wipro website, you see a system called a Stella, and you can see different versions of that Stella where everywhere when the Stella was started, it tried to have the input in the terms of text. Then now it is trying to have an input called as voice. Now it is processing videos also. So speech recognition systems, most of the people now itself they told like Alexa is there, and we have Siri and many other systems are there. You know the systems. That is the reason I'm not taking much time here. Truth maintenance systems are systems. It is also a trend because this truth maintenance systems will assist people who are involved in this breaching this crime. Like even if you consider the cyber crime and maintenance, automatic maintenance systems, this truth maintenance systems will be part of your cyber crime department. Where what does this truth maintenance system will do is, it will take the version of the culprits, it will take the version of the culprits in the terms of video, audio and natural language processing statement with respect to the text, and they will process the video also, whether he is talking confidently or whether is there any chance that he has done this crime. Truth maintenance system will support this crime branch people to take alibis of criminals. They will process the testimonials of the criminals and they will give you output. What is the guarantee that he is the culprit? And a very important system is it is truth maintenance system is a expert system which will process the testimonies of the culprits based on the voice, the text and video, and based on that this truth maintenance system will tell you this is the probability that he has done this crime, something like that. So truth maintenance system is a part of the syllabus. It is not a current trend as per the Gartner says, but it was there in the textbook that you have to read, and we will discuss the truth maintenance system in your 5th unit. And blackboard system is also a trend that was earlier, that will again come in the 5th unit. Blackboard system is an expert system where it try to propose solutions. 5 minutes. It proposed solutions where blackboard system is a mechanism where many experts will be there. There is an expert belonging to bioinformatics, there is an expert belonging to computer science, there is an expert belonging to physics, chemistry. There is an amalgamation. All these people will sit together and see there is an erection of gas at Visakhapatnam. Then they have to use this blackboard system. Various experts sit together and they will find out the solution for this expert problems. And blackboard systems, the entire design was there in the syllabus. So blackboard system, there is every chance for us to discuss this in detail for almost 2 to 3 classes. It will come in 5th unit, so we will discuss there. And the probabilistic system, this is not the current trend. Probability has become an integral part of your AI now, because earlier when we started reading this AI, we have only one database that called as a static database. Now we have a dynamic database where every statement will have some probability of applying. See, I am suffering with something, there is a chance this is the disease, that cannot be taken as a fact, 100% fact, that will come with a 0.5. So as per the textbook says, probability system is also a trend. Now this probability system is a part of AI, like your speech recognition. So all this, whatever we have discussed, I have taken something from the current trends, and I have taken something from your textbook. From the textbook, I have taken ELIZA and robotics. From the textbook, I have taken speech recognition here. From the textbook, I have taken all these three. So from Gartner, I have taken this RPA. From this Gartner, I have taken this CC systems and COVID. All the other things are the discussion that are pertaining to your textbooks. So once you understood this class, if you open a textbook or explore Google, then or even by this time we try to close this class at the earliest, because we have other activities that has to be done today, which is important, very important for our students, particularly for the fourth year. I'm just trying to query you, like somebody can unmute yourself and can tell me what are the challenges in building a normal robot. There is no need that you have to answer exactly, you can just try. Somebody unmute yourself and can somebody tell what are the challenges in building a robot. Do you think when the robot is getting built, we need to train the robot? Is it right or wrong?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. When you are trying to train the robot, the first thing we do is we will just write down what are the permissible actions that a robot can perform. This is what you have done in water jug problem also. Water jug problem also, once you analyzed what are the permissible operations that see, you can pour some water from 4-gallon jug, that is permissible. You pour some water from 3-gallon jug to 4-gallon jug, until unless that 4-gallon jug is complete, that is permissible, because you have defined. The same way, when you try to develop a robot, you need to legally define some permissible actions. And when you define an action, you need to give the prerequisites. When can this, see, I have a robot to lift this bench from this class to other class, then what are the prerequisites in which this robot can operate? What can be the size of the bench? What can be the weight of the bench? What can be the dimension of the bench? Many other parameters are to be there. So this rule can be applied when all this met. So then how much distance it can travel? What will happen if there is an obstacle while this robot has started movement? Who will guide that? So all these are the initial challenges in building a robot. Because you see, I just ask a robot to keep this bench in other class, it's very difficult to understand, even though the language that I have used, and it will decode and understand the actions, but coming to the movement of the bench from one class to other class, it needs to find out the address of the other class, it needs to find out the dimension of the bench, it needs to find out how many movements that it has to make. And all this are the challenges, and the complexity involved is how do you apply a rule, and when can you apply a rule, how far the rule is valid. And these two questions I kept only to just make you to think about a robot, because if you wish to discuss the complexity of the robot, because my MTech is an artificial intelligence, MTech in artificial intelligence was there, MTech in robotics and computer science was there. So it's a big thing, like how can you discuss about the complexity of the design. Most probably when you are having a class tomorrow in the morning, so we will discuss this points in a detailed structure. IPEN. So if you have any questions, you can just unmute yourself and answer, or you can join in the next class. But what is that I told today is two things I told. The first thing is If there is any chance after 6 or 7 o'clock today, you interact with your seniors today or tomorrow, that is most important. Second important is joining in this Google class is very important, not Google class, this is Teams class is very important, because we are taking the attendance from this. So in this Teams, what is that, there is a chances you can share the information in the terms of files, you can chart, you can see the videos that were done. See, I have our class is done, so obviously you can see the video of the class today. A lot of features are there, almost we have 18 different features that that you could find it very easy. So all these are there. I will just discuss about what type of features you can use in this class at a later stage, not